Back at home, feeling misunderstood, and between these ears ain't nothing good.
What's up, Benchwarmers? Welcome into, this is a very special episode of the Far End of the Bench. It's not going to be normal. As you can tell, we're not even here during our normal time because the sun is still out, but we got a good kind of, since it's the new year, since we're winding down whatever you want to call 2020, whether you thought it was a great year or possibly didn't live up to expectations. I know I was looking forward to it after how 2019 ended, but 2020 has been something else. We're going to take a look back and give you guys a look into how Niko and I first met, how we started the podcast, where our friendship came from, because I think that's interesting for the following that we are gaining now. I think that'd be an interesting episode. And like we said on a couple weeks ago now, on the episode that came out, but we didn't want to have to be recording all the time, and this was an easy enough topic to talk about since there's not going to be too many sports in between the episodes that we're recording.
Yeah, I mean, this episode, you guys are hearing this either a day or two before New Year's, so hopefully 2021 brings a lot of great things, but if you guys know one thing also, I'm not wearing the jersey, so I gotta rep the brand, so like I told you I'll bring a different jersey, but I'm wearing the Pods jersey, quote unquote, so I thought I'd do that to add a little incentive there, but yeah, recording during the day is a lot of fun. It's unfortunate that we both have stuff going on, and sometimes our schedules don't work out, and we have to record at night, but hopefully this high quality video is a little bit better for the eye.
Yeah, no, we're either going to be the most good looking people on the network after this episode, or people are going to realize the flaws that we have. I don't know either way. My mom still says that I'm cute. That's all I know. But let's go ahead and start talking about, let's give people a glimpse into how this came about, because we had talked about doing a podcast before we both went to school. Mm-hmm. It was back in high school because you were going for like business and sports management for your degree, and I was going to go for broadcasting, obviously, because I wanted to do that. But then this year, it started my graduation party. It was when you kind of came up to me and said that you would want to be a regular co-host on the podcast. You'd been on my old show a couple times already. Mm-hmm. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about how this came about.
Yeah, so your old show, Center Attention, that's where the Center Attention name comes from, is Jimmy's old show, and I told him, I was like, we might as well keep it around because it's a great segment to start the show. Mm-hmm. We always shine a light on either one of us during each week. Sometimes we go back to back because sometimes we have stuff we have to get off our minds, so whatever it may be, but we usually alternate, so that's been a lot of fun. But yeah, I remember you putting out a message, I think it was social media or something, looking for a co-host, and I was like, well, I'm in the job search right now, so it's a tough field to be in right now with everything that's been going on. Sports is a tough industry to get into as it is, but considering it's very rare, the amount of jobs available right now, so I was like, why not see if Jimmy wants a co-host, and why not try to do something a little more fun with extra time I have, because I'm still job searching, but now I have stuff that keeps me busy while I'm still job searching, so I'm not just sitting on my ass watching TV and playing video games. So now I actually get to have stuff to look forward to while I'm still job searching.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's kind of why I started it, because it's around when we're recording this on the 7th of December, so you're listening to this well after we're recording this, but it was around this time last year where I was sitting in my dorm, and I was like, I'm not going to have a radio job at the school forever. It was a student position that I was in, so there was that, and I didn't think this is how the sports climate would be, but I knew broadcasting anyways is going to be difficult to get into. I had one possible opportunity up in Montana, but other than that, I was like not hearing anything about possible broadcasting jobs. So I was like, well, yeah, I got a computer, I got a MacBook, and I was like, I can possibly start doing this on my own now, and I might as well see what I can do that way. And that's how Center of Attention started. So it's based out of boredom, but it's also just like not wanting to sit around all the time, and this is something that I spend a good amount of time. I like editing the stuff and making it look good and sound good for everybody. I know you enjoy making the graphics, and we're showing a little bit different side of us, because I didn't see you all that much in college, but you're obviously, you're a big sports fan. I know that you probably had millions of sports debates in your room with your college buddies and everything like that. You're friends with Jeremy, so trust me, I know that you're debating sports quite a bit. Yeah. And I do the same thing. It's weird. It's almost like I have football player tattooed on my forehead, because everywhere I go, somebody's like, "Oh, you play football? You watch the game? Anything like that?" So this is just this is a good way to like mesh everything, put it all together, and it's something that we can control.
Yeah, exactly. Like I mean, like you said, like there's not a day that goes by that one of the first things that I talk about is sports. I know it's kind of terrible to say because I wish I had more of a social life, but that's just the reality of it. I mean, sports is my life. It has been since I was a kid. Growing up, I had a basketball in my hand from as long as I can remember.
Could you dribble before you could walk?
I don't know if I could dribble before I could walk, but I definitely couldn't shoot the rock before I could walk. So, on the little hoop when I was a baby. But either way, man, basketball has been in my life like for so long. Like it's one of those things that it's so beautiful because sports brings people together that you would have never guessed. Like if you're a fan of a team and you go to a game or whatever it may be and you see a person sitting next to you, you may have nothing in common with that person, but the one thing you do have is your love for a team. Yeah. And that's the same way when you play it as well. You and me, we're two very, very different people, 100%.
Yeah, and we don't have a similar background or story as to how we got to that team when we first met. So can go. Yeah,
we're two completely different people, but I mean we become best of friends through it all because I was tied to your left hip, and the amount of times we've given each other CTE over the years is just ridiculous. Yeah. So
if I ever screw anything up on social media, know that it's partially on Niko as well, just because we hit each other so often. But that's. When I was doing the center of attention, it's difficult doing a podcast without a co-host or somebody else to bounce things off of. When I'm not that great a speaker, anyways. I don't think I've gotten better.
Oh, I'm a terrible speaker. I hate listening to my voice still, man. I hate listening to my voice. You have a radio voice at least. I still sound like I'm 12 feet underwater.
You'll get there. You get to a point where you find kind of where your soft spot is, and it's a good. You find wherever it doesn't tire your voice as often. Yeah. Doing back-to-back broadcasting, 2 back-to-back basketball weekends is difficult with 4 games, men and women's on each day. So that's where I picked that up. But like I said it when I was doing the Center of Attention podcast, I wanted sports back because of the bringing people together. That's when we go to Bronco games. I'm not even a Bronco fan yet. When they score, I'm high-fiving everybody who sits around our season tickets, and you get to know, especially in that situation, get to know the people because a lot of the guys have the same seats every year. So. I know plenty of people that I probably never would have came in contact with. We had plenty of teammates that we probably never would have even talked to if we hadn't been teammates. And I think it's one of the better things and one of the things that I'm most grateful about with the sports that I've played. Didn't necessarily go the way I wanted. I don't know about you, but I was a professional athlete or bust for a while until I realized that as much as I grew in 5th grade was as much as I was going to grow the rest of my life. But you said you started with basketball. That was your first love. But what was the first sport that you played, I guess? What was the first time that you were playing an organized sport?
So the first couple sports that I played as a kid was basketball. Obviously, basketball is the number one. Number 2 was soccer. My mom's side of the family is very, very German. Yeah. So we love our soccer.
Shout out Miss Sonia.
Yeah, so I love my German soccer, and that came from watching a World Cup as I was a kid because my mom's German, my dad's Italian, and you can just imagine how that went during the World Cup when Germany and Italy were playing. Yeah. So that was just a little fun thing, but soccer was a big thing. Obviously, I don't play soccer anymore. I was more of a defender, and my body type obviously doesn't fit the soccer type, so that didn't last very long, but soccer, basketball were the main 2 growing up. I played tennis like forever. I played tennis for so many years. It's always just been a hobby. It's never been like something that's super competitive. It's always just been something I've been okay at, and I've played it for so long that it doesn't really go away. And then football came along in 4th grade. I never played flag football before. I just remember telling my dad, I was like, well, I want to play football. I want to try it because I remember watching the Broncos and being a Bronco fan and being like, well, why don't I try to play the sport? And at the time, like I hit my growth spurt a lot earlier than a lot of people.
You and I both.
So yeah. I hit my growth spurt in like 6th, 7th grade, and that's how I became a left guard. And then after that, I started to lose a little more weight, and I moved back to the fullback position, make fullbacks great again. So that's how all that started. And the other sport that I've played forever too, I played about a little bit longer, maybe a year or 2 longer, was lacrosse too. I played lacrosse a year in college as well at Grand Canyon, and then I played a year at football my freshman year at Augustana. But those are the main sports. Soccer was a big thing growing up. One sport I wish I would have loved to play is hockey.
Yeah,
I would have absolutely loved to play hockey.
I say that too a lot.
I have the story with my mom that I always give her crap about. Every time I ever watch a hockey game is when I was in, I think it was 2nd grade or 3rd grade. I told my mom I want to play hockey because I loved rollerblading. I rollerbladed hockey.
So you could skate.
So I could decently skate.
Okay.
So I could decently skate. So it's not like I'm a idiot on the skates. I don't look like a dumb.
You're not gonna look like me. Yeah.
Yeah. So I could skate decently. And I remember my mom telling me that she went to the first meeting of Pee Wee hockey, and the ice rink time was 4 a.m. And my mom was like, "Fuck that! We're not waking up at 3 a.m. for you to go play hockey. You're just gonna continue to play basketball."
She
saved me.
She saved
She
you.
saved me,
and
but
the,
I wish
and
I
the
would've
family.
loved. Yeah,
she
she
saved the family too, because I know our football stuff stunk, but I've heard stories about hockey
stuff,
gear.
yeah.
It's disgusting. But I would have loved to play hockey too. I just couldn't. I was barely able to walk as it was, and running, and I was decently athletic on the ground. If you put me on skates, I look exactly like Bambi. I could rollerblade, not rollerblade. I could roller skate in the inline skates. I can't even do the blades, but that was my downfall. That was why I was never gonna be destined to be in the NHL.
My family had a little hockey net in our driveway behind the basketball hoop, and I would literally used to skate around with a little tennis ball and shoot that at the net.
Yeah.
So if I would have played any sport really good when I was a kid, it would have been rollerblade hockey. But I mean, ice hockey would have been so much fun to play because I feel like my body type too. Like I'm big enough where I could have been a halfway decent defender.
Yeah.
Or something. I may not have been a good forward because I don't have the stick handles, but I'm big enough and physical enough. I feel like I could have done a little bit of damage.
If I were to play hockey, I always say that I'd be the same. It's the same role that I would play when I was in basketball, and I'd play on the playground. I was the guy who you didn't necessarily want to go in the paint to get. My stat line's pretty consistent. Few rebounds, depending on how quickly I get my 5 fouls. That'll depend on how many rebounds I get, and I can get one or two buckets a game, but it's very, very hard to come by. But I would probably be the guy that you'd send out there to fight and take out the best player, make sure that their best player doesn't get back on the ice. I'll say it. I've been more of a goon type player than I'd care to admit. We were kind of like, we talked about this the first time you were on the Center of Attention podcast, but you and I we fought an entire sideline in Las Vegas.
Oh my gosh.
We were getting gang stomped.
Don't get me started with that.
That was a fun, so the backstory is we'll get into the start when we first started playing football together, but we were going to a national tournament in Vegas, the NYFC tournament.
Damn, I haven't heard that tournament name in I don't know how long. Shoot.
You get 2 games and then a championship if you go undefeated and if you score the most points. We're in the championship game playing some team that's from...
I think we lost the first game. Was that the year we lost the first game?
No, that was the year before. We lost that was the year before in that tournament. But I think it was our 7th grade year, and we're playing a team from Nevada in the championship. So they have basically their whole entire side of the stands filled. We have your dad, Nona, and our coaching staff. So 6 guys, maybe a couple parents that decided to make the drive and spend a few days in Vegas. And we, let's just be honest, most of the times that we went to these tournaments in other states, we were the brightest and whitest thing out there.
Yeah.
And this was no exception. Niko is playing defensive end. I was playing defensive tackle. We're on the same side of the field. We chased down a play that's on their sideline. They didn't like how hard Niko hit the kid, and they decided that it's a good time for a curb stomp.
Yeah.
And we're going to have 11 guys go over there. I'm the closest one to them, so I go running in. I somehow get us out. I don't know how I got us out.
I honestly don't remember it all being a blur, because when I was on that sideline, I remember just hitting the ground and then looking up and seeing 6 people kicking me. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? And then I see you coming in. Then I see you and Gabe both running in, pulling people off of me. Gabe grabbed me off the ground, picked me up, and started walking me back. And I was like, what the fuck just happened? And I turned around and everybody's just swinging. I was like, what in the world? I hit the dude. I didn't even know what happened. And I'm getting curb stomped for a hit.
Yeah, you were getting gang initiated. It was terrible. You Cortsy, I forgot Cortsy was was in on that.
Of
He
course
pulled
he
you
was
out,
on that, yeah.
and then I was in the front like, no,
Jimmy
it's fine.
Jimmy
We're
was
good.
the moderator. Quartz is the one that grabbed my ass off the ground and pulled me away.
We've had a few. Been a few moments, and that was one of them where I was like, I never saw myself here in this situation. I never thought that I'd have to stop a guy from getting. There we go.
Yeah.
We might have missed a little bit, but we were talking about a couple of one of my favorite stories from our youth playing days. But then, so you started with basketball. Did you want to be in the NBA? Was that a goal when you first started playing, or did you just want to play?
I knew I wasn't going to make the NBA, if being honest. A little, like, this is not racially stereotyping it, but I was a short little white kid, blonde hair. Unless you're Dirk Nowitzki and 7 foot tall, there was no shot I was making the NBA.
Or Chris Anderson.
Yeah,
6'11".
Anderson. Yeah, so there's no shot I was making the NBA. I always wanted to be around the game because my dad's been around it for so long. The game always just come natural to me. I was never the top of the team. I was never the best player on the team. I was always the guy that set picks and could halfway decently shoot a shot.
You were like an offensive lineman on the basketball.
I was an offensive lineman, but I had a little more skill.
No,
I've gained a little bit more skill.
I just mean like you're always in the right place.
Yeah.
You're kind of doing the stuff that nobody gets credit.
Yeah, I was doing down and dirty. So that's. I didn't really play much my senior year, but I played a decent. I didn't play much my senior year, junior year, high school, but I played a lot my freshman and sophomore year.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just mostly the enforcer, basically. I could shoot the ball better now than I could in high school, but that's just over time because now I can just shoot whenever and I can work on my jump shot. But
yeah,
basketball was my first love by far. I always knew I was better at football, but basketball was always my first love. So football was a thing where I knew I was better at.
Yeah.
I knew this would take me farther. Basketball was one of those things where I just loved playing so much, and that I wish I was better at compared to everyone else that I played with, but I just wasn't. So
yeah, that's my background in sports. I've been told by my parents that I would fall asleep on my dad's chest while he was watching SportsCenter. Mm-hmm. So I can't even remember the very first time that I watched a sports game. It was probably before I could walk. He taught me how to get in a stance and snap the ball before I could walk. Football was basically that was it for me. I wanted to be in the NFL, and then I picked up baseball and wrestling a little bit. Never played soccer and wasn't allowed to play flag football. My dad said we're not playing football unless you can play the real thing, and you're gonna learn if you like to get hit or not, and we're gonna figure out if you actually like the sport.
I never played flag football either. My parents were. Well, my little brother played flag football.
He was pretty good.
He was pretty good at flag football and he was a pretty good corner too. He almost was raised up to the varsity team our senior year like your brother was. But he got injured his last game of the year and popped his shoulder out. But that would have been a lot of fun if he was able to get on the field with me in my last few games. But it just didn't work out how it was. But you were lucky to have Dom there with you.
No, and I thought that was a fun time because it was like the couple generations. There's 3 generations basically of our youth football team, and it was us, Dom's team, and then Ed's team now. But that was like the first time that the 2 generations of the Creek Red Nation could play together. That was pretty. It was fun for me because it was my brother, and I finally got to play with him. And I got to. Quartzy was giving him shit. He always talks about that. At some point, we might have Dom on the podcast. But
yeah, talk to him about his Jets stuff, and that we'll have a full 2-hour episode about the Jets.
I don't know. I could pause. He's gonna be here when we do the bowl episode. So if we want another person on there, I don't know. We might be able to ask him. But that was fun for me. But now let's get in. So you're on Creek Red Nation. You guys win the AFC championship, and then all of a sudden, the next year we play each other. Yes. When I was in Broomfield, we were, and it was a preseason tournament. Did you remember me from that team, or did I kind of just show up? Because we basically played, we had a season in between, and then all of a sudden I showed up and I was on the team.
Well, first of all, my first 3 years we won the Super Bowl, quote unquote, of the league. So I never lost with the team. I basically was on a winning team constantly, and every single year that I played.
Must have been nice.
Yeah, it must have been nice. Every single year I won Creek Red Nation, we won a championship. So I got lucky. I got thrown right into a mix of it, but. My first year I didn't really play much. The second year, I believe it was when you came in. The second year is when I started playing more. My first year, I was kind of I was a backup center too at one point. Courts was the center.
Courts was the center.
Then I was his backup at one point because Courts was the backup QB also.
And he was the linebacker.
He was the linebacker, so he could do a little bit of everything. So whenever he went at QB, I went to center, which that didn't last very long because I was terrible at it.
It's a difficult position.
It is a difficult position, but yeah, that's how all that worked out. I remember you specifically because I remember Coach Ken saying something about you. I remember because I was on the line still. I didn't play as much, but I remember hearing about 73 and being like, okay, this guy's their best player. We have to make sure he's blocked on every single play.
Okay.
There wasn't more. I knew of you briefly, but not like fully. I guess if that makes sense.
I didn't actually know that because I was playing both ways. I was the biggest kid on the team. That's the thing. You talked about an early growth spurt, and then I came in, and it was you and I. That's how I first remember you. Because my dad ended up being the line coach, so he was our position coach, and we were in practice together. But then we were at Coach Ken's house, and my dad and your dad were talking about who's taller. So we had to go back to back and see who was taller. We were basically the same size at that point. We were the giants of the team. That's crazy.
I wish it was still like that, man.
I wish too. I wish that I would have continued to grow like everybody thought. But and then the next time that I really like cemented that you and I were on the team and like gonna be close was your dad. You had a tennis tournament when we had like a preseason scrimmage.
Oh God, I hate this memory.
I
hate this
You go
memory.
up to my dad. Well, you talk to Coach Ken, and Coach Ken says whatever he says. I don't know if he was too happy about you missing football for your tennis thing. You go to my dad, tell him. And my dad likes to say that he just told you to go out and win. Just be that competitive. Doesn't matter. Like, you'll be fine. It's a preseason scrimmage. Who cares? And then your dad heard about what Coach Ken said, and he called my dad because he thought my dad was giving you crap about it too.
It was just Coach Ken. It wasn't your dad. Your dad was fully aboard all of it, and that was one of my least favorite memories of all that because I remember everything about that. I don't think I did very well in the tournament either to add salt to the wound, but yeah, I remember that specifically, that whole thing. And I am a firm believer that you should play as many sports as you can when you're a kid. Tennis was a hobby, like I said. It was never something I played super competitively, but it was something that I enjoyed at the time. And I believe if when you're at that age, like before high school, you should be playing as many sports as possible. You should be doing stuff because I believe that basketball may be a better football player. Football may be a better lacrosse player, and lacrosse may be a better basketball player, and it's all circle. I believe everything all tied in together, and for some reason, I had a tennis tournament. My mom was pissed, and I had to play, and I think I was teammates with Brock too, so that's also.
I think it was
so it was a whole ordeal. It's weird that we got close through that because it's one of my least favorite moments.
It was another. My dad always kind of liked to use stuff that happened with the team to teach me lessons. And that was whatever you're doing, just go out and be competitive and try and win. Obviously, we would have liked to have you. You were the starting guard, I think, at that point. So we would have liked to have you for the scrimmage, but it wasn't a huge deal for you to miss.
Scrimmage too. If you have a chance as a kid, especially to play a different sport and meet new people and do things that kids should be doing, then you should. I don't hate myself for doing that. I hate everything that went on during that and how it came to that. But I don't hate myself for that happening.
Well, I'll tell you my least favorite memory that involves the sports that I played growing up. My cousin was going to have a birthday party on a day that we had practice, and it was at Pump It Up, which was like a bounce, Jump Street was.
Yeah, like Jump Street, yeah.
I really wanted to go because we never got to go to Pump It Up, but I couldn't miss practice, and I had to miss. It was the first time that it was like sacrifice something that's going to be fun for something that's not as fun. Practice is no fun for anybody. Nobody likes practice. I don't care what anybody says. It's important. But it was like a discipline thing. So that's what I kind of credit the sports and stuff. And I think that's why we work with this together because we both have the mindset if we're going to do something, why not try and be best at it?
Exactly. Yeah.
Why not try and do something that's just a little bit more than what people expect from it because it can be done. It takes a lot of work. But like you said, we didn't lose much when we were in Creek Red Nation. We didn't lose much when we were in high school. Like we've had a lot of stuff that we've been able to be pretty successful at, and it all ties back into everything. So the more opportunities that you get to learn stuff like that, the better better I think we are for it in the long run.
Yeah, I know. The one thing that I've been very, very fortunate enough was all the teams I've been on, excluding college because my freshman year college football team was not very good. But all the other teams besides that, I've won on. Football, we won a state title obviously my junior year. Then basketball, we made it to the Elite Eight, which was the farthest a Creek basketball team has made it since I think in 10 years or something like that. And that was my senior year as well. I didn't play much, but I was still part of it, winning team. In lacrosse too, I won a state title in junior year too. So everywhere I've been except college, where freshman year obviously didn't go as well. I wasn't on a team I loved all the guys on the team, and the team was so much fun. But we just didn't have the right culture right away because some guys were from the old coaching staff and blah blah blah, whatever it may be. But that was a lot of fun playing college football. I didn't obviously get to play as much as you got to, but it was a lot of fun being able to do that. And it was always a dream of mine to play college football or play a college sport at one point. And I got to do that. So whether it worked out or not, unfortunately it didn't. But I still got have that on my resume that I at least got to play 1 year college football.
Yeah, you still gave it a shot, and it's difficult. And at that level, a lot of guys, if you talk to professional athletes, they tell people that if you're not going to go D1 and have a legitimate shot at the NFL, just go to school and don't worry about playing sports, because sports take up a ton of time. If they're, I don't know, I'm sure club sports take up a lot of time when you were playing lacrosse at GCU, but I know football, you're expected for workouts, practice. They say it's 20 hours a week. It's probably more like 35 to 40. It's basically a second job on top of studying. So it's a good thing. I don't know. I feel like, and when you came back, and I think it was, I don't know if I was one of the first people that you told that you were kind of thinking about not playing anymore. But I in my head, I was like, when I heard that you stopped, I didn't have any qualms about it, because I know that you actually would have given it the best that you could have. You tried to make it work, and it just wasn't going to be, it wasn't going to be worth it in the end. And I think as long as you give it a legitimate shot and you give it a chance and go as far as you can with something, there's nothing that you can really look back as like a bad thing about it.
Yeah, I remember that year specifically when I came home. I think it was either spring break or it was Christmas break when I first told my parents, and I was like, I love football so much, but I don't know if I can do this for 3 more years. I was like, I don't know if my mental capacity could deal with it. I don't know if my body could deal with it, because I was playing fullback position, and that takes a lot of hits to the head, and I've had concussions in my playing career, but I've never been diagnosed. But I guarantee you I've had concussions. And I could start seeing some things where I was like not present in class, or I was not, whatever it may be. Things started to turn, and then once I started realizing that, I was like, I can't keep doing this. I love football so much, and playing Augustana was so much fun with that great group of guys over there, but it just didn't work out. And luckily, it worked out the way it did, because I had so much fun at GCU, and GCU was a blessing in disguise.
Mm-hmm. And now Brock's going to
Brock
is he at? What's up, Benchwarmers of the Unhinged Sports Network? We're here to talk to you today about Fanatics, because I mentioned it in the episode that I believe is out by now that you're listening to this, but I got a nice Bengals shirt. I got the 3/4 with the burrow on the back, and the Tommy Hilfiger sweatshirt. So, it's quality stuff too, and I know Niko's been hounding that website ever since we got the link too.
I know. I'm a closet Titans fan, so I got myself a Derrick Henry jersey just because, you know what I mean? There's so many great deals on there.
Yeah.
If you use our link through the link tree as well, man, you can click on the link and buy whatever through that time. You can buy basketball stuff, hockey stuff, football stuff, baseball stuff, NASCAR, soccer. Really, there's so many great things on there, man.
All officially licensed stuff.
All officially licensed stuff, man. There's so much good stuff, and you can buy whatever. And it's that time of the year. Go get yourself your parents or your friends some jerseys or some stuff, whatever it may be. They have shooter sleeves, basketball shooter sleeves that I got too. So
coasters. I've seen coasters, a speaker. Possibly got somebody a Bluetooth speaker that's their favorite team, so there you go. Or you could be your own Santa. You can get a gift for somebody else, the sports fan in your life, but it doesn't have to be just football or basketball. There's everything that you could possibly think of on there. So go hit the link in our link tree to Fanatics, help out the Unhinged Sports Network, and help out the far end of the bench as well. Thanks, guys.
It's unfortunate that he has to do that through all the COVID stuff, but that's just the way it goes.
Yeah, let's back up a little bit. I started on the team in 6th grade, and we play all the way through 8th grade, and then I ended up going to a different high school originally. I went over to Heritage to play for Coach Greibel and wrestle for Coach Barron. You stay at Creek. Did you play in the lower level?
So at Creek originally you could only play, freshmen were only allowed to play freshman football, But
there was a game where it was like the freshman, I think it might have been the freshman B team went and played at Heritage. I remember that one year, and it was.
I don't think I was. I don't know if you played. Yeah, I don't think I played in that, but it might have been the JV team.
It was the JV team, yeah.
So I remember something like that, but I don't think we ever played against each other.
No, we were still friends, and we still saw each other and kept up with everything. But you were at Creek, I was at Heritage. We were in totally different places, and then works out that I ended up transferring back to Creek, and we ended up getting to play again together. Unfortunately, I had to miss the junior season that we won state and wasn't able to dress or anything for those games. But then senior year, we're back. You're a starting fullback. I was a starting center, and we go on a pretty good run. I mean, it's one of the more difficult things because I love high school football. That's one of my favorite times I think I've ever had. Probably that and the 8th grade year. Those are the two best seasons that I can remember. And senior night at Stutler Bowl was awesome. Playing in the playoffs, and even if we had to lose to anybody, why not let it be one of our closest friends in Gabe and Valor? So it doesn't make it any easier, but that was a lot of fun, and I think that probably had a big role in when we came back after college and started the show, because we were able to come back and we spent so much more time junior and senior year since we were at the same high school.
Yeah, junior senior year was a lot of fun. That junior year team was, it was so much fun to be a part of. It's unfortunate you weren't able to be eligible to play through that, but yeah, I was the backup fullback, so we had one of the best running backs in high school, Colorado high school football.
I think we had one of the best tandems.
Yeah, Milo and DJ. DJ was the fullback when Milo was a halfback, and when DJ was a halfback, I was the fullback. So I got to play. I was on all the special teams in the state game, and then I got to play in a few series when DJ was the halfback. So that was so much fun playing at Mile High, and getting to play in front of so many fans. Man, it was chilling. I remember being on the kick return to start the game, and my mom didn't tell me this until after, but I was one of the people that was shown on the jumbotron right like before the first kickoff.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking about that. I was like, I was on the jumbotron at Mile High, playing in a football game.
Right.
And it just blew my mind, and it was a surreal moment. It was so much fun being around that team. But that senior year was so much fun too, because there are so many great guys on the team. Like I said, like you and me, lifelong friends, and there's so many guys on the team that I still talk to this day, and that I have great relationships with, because we're always going to be tied together because of that state title and then as well the senior year team. So
yeah, and I think it's an underrated thing getting to play in a pro stadium. I've been lucky enough to play in a couple, but I think it's always the best when you kind of can stand on the field before anything else happens, and you just kind of take in the fact that 75,000 people could have been there. And I was lucky enough to play in AT&T for USA Football out in Arlington, and then looking up at yourself on the jumbotron, that's disorienting. And then you look up and you go, wow. This goes from the 40 all the way to the other 40, and it's one of those things that I'm always grateful. And I was glad I got to be on the field. The coaches let me be in a jersey on the field for the state championships game, so I still feel like there was a part of me that was able to be out there with you guys to win it.
Well, every single person on the team was a part of it, because even though you weren't a physical player on that, you were still one of the best scout team guys we had.
I definitely.
As shitty as that sounds, but you were still an integral part into the game plan, especially on the defensive end, and making sure they were ready.
And that actually helped me out when I was in college too, because I never was the full-time starter. I got to start a few games, but I was mainly the backup for every position. Obviously I know football well enough that I could pick up a game plan pretty much overnight. It's one of the things that I've studied it before I could even think of anything else. So I could do that, and I was more of a mentor and a guy that can maybe help. I was basically an extra coach on the sidelines. I would have loved to be the player and an all-conference guy, win a conference championship in college, but that senior or the junior year where I had to be the scout team center, and I was lining up against David, and David was just beating the crap out of me every single day in practice. That really helped me when I had to go to college and then not get to play as much. That was there's lessons that you can take away from everything, and I think it was a disappointment, but it was also great. And then I got to go to China, so I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't have any qualms about anything with high school, but I do. I'm glad that we have that picture. I'll have to show that picture on social media when this episode comes out of us at the Blizzard game, the last game that we won together. It was crazy.
Us freezing our asses off. Yeah. Our last high school football win, where literally I think it was 12 inches of snow or something stupid like that. Literally, they had to shovel the lines on the field between every series.
Yeah.
Between
and
every
then by
series.
the end of the game, we were up by enough that they just gave up.
Yeah, I remember specifically too because I had to catch that game, and I remember looking back at the film of it because you could barely see it.
Yeah,
you couldn't even see.
We were in all white, and then you got a pass in a snowball at the deepest part with the snow. Yeah, it was
so much fun. There's so many snow games are so much fun, man. I hated lacrosse snow games because it was hard to get your footing. It was hard to get your footing. But with football, obviously footing was important, but as a fullback, I just got to run downhill. So yeah. I mean, it wasn't that bad.
No, it was probably, that's one of my favorite things to do, Blizzard games with you and my brother, even though Charlie kicked the ball at my butt that game.
I remember that. I do remember that.
That was an interesting experience that I hope never happens again. But yeah, so that's, we basically went through our whole friendship leading up to this point, and then, so...
Let's go back to the podcast a little bit because let's talk about the unhinged stuff for a little bit because that's a huge thing that happened to us pretty quickly too.
Yeah, I think way faster than anybody.
So
really
one of the things one of the goals we had of this podcast that we set up beforehand, I was like, okay, we're gonna get enough listeners, get enough followers where these network companies are going to come to us and be like, okay, we want you on the net. We want you a part of it. Mm-hmm. And we had no idea Unhinged was created. We had no idea anything about that. And we got approached after, I think it was 9 episodes, maybe 10.
Yeah, I think it was like 8. We hadn't scheduled, I think we just did the bonus episode with Rev, but we hadn't scheduled the interview with Bird yet.
Yeah, so it was before everything hit. And it really, really took us off to the next level. Working with Jim over there, it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, Jim, and then through the NFL Unhinged show that we've been doing, we got to know DJ and Kelsey with the high-low a little bit more. Zach definitely knows a lot about football.
Yeah, Zach.
If he and I were to go head-to-head, I'm not sure who would come out on top of that. We both love football, and then Jim has a good rapport with us where we can all give each other crap. Because he's a Patriots fan. You're a Broncos fan. I'm a Bengals fan. We don't have to talk too much about it. But the network has been great because we've been able to branch out, and I think it's always good, no matter how big. Because I think the Unhinged was basically thought of the first time that we were thinking about this podcast. We came over I was over here. We were at the kitchen table. We're like, okay. We literally came in. We're like, what's the name going to be? I don't. Well,
I had like 10 different names.
Yeah.
I remember some of them being absolutely stupid. I don't have.
I wanted to go Wonder Twins because my mom used to call us the Wonder Twins when we played in youth. That was shot down pretty quickly because it didn't necessarily catch on.
I love you, Jimmy, but I was never a fan of that nickname. I love you, Jimmy.
That one didn't really catch on. I liked it. Funny enough, the one that did catch on was the Italian Stallion. I do have that tattooed on me, and if we get big enough, maybe at some point.
I think it was the Italian Stallion and like
the Stallion and the Bus. Yeah,
the Stallion and the Bus.
There we go.
Something stupid like that because my nickname is all my friends at school call me Nevis for some reason, and I sometimes nickname it and made it funny and just call me the Bus. So sometimes that happens, but I mean that was another stupid name that came up with it. I'm trying to think, what were some of the other ones?
I didn't even have, I wanted Wonder Twins. I thought, I really liked the idea of the bench because at this point
we don't play sports anymore.
No, we were both graduated.
We don't play sports
not going to
anymore.
have any competitive sports, so we were either going to be like those old guys in the competitive rec leagues, or we're going to be the guys at the Y waiting for the next pickup game to start. Be like, I got next. Mm-hmm. But we're sitting on the bench and still got to get warmed up. So I think you mentioned, I think there was something with the mountains because we were talking about something with Colorado.
I think it was something with like I think it was in between the mountains or
Yeah, I think so.
or something along
Between
those
two
lines.
mountains or
Between
something
two
like
mountains
that.
or something like that.
That could have been something.
That could have sounded a lot more sexual, but luckily we didn't go with that.
Pause. Between two mountains, pause. Yeah. I mean, we might have been able to do, if we would have thought about it a little bit longer, we could have done something about we're both Italian. I know you're pretty German.
That's not my Italian name from my dad's side.
Yeah, I'm not full-blooded Italian, so we could have probably done something with that. But I think it worked well enough, and then the logo was kind of what.
Oh, our first logo was horrendous. So when we were first figuring everything out, I was like, I just gotta figure out some logo so that we can at least market it a little bit. And I found this website, like free website, that gave us a logo that was a little dude on a bench, and I just wrote far end of the bench in script underneath it.
Yeah,
and I was like, oh my god!
And it was like blue and like weird purple
orange, yeah, and it was blurry and it was so bad. But luckily, when we
like most things with the podcast, we started off and it was horrendous, but then we get better.
Yeah, well, I realized once we got to once Jim came to us and Unhinged Network. Was the thing I was like, we gotta step our game up. I was like, we gotta do a different logo. So it took me about an hour or hour and a half to figure everything out for this logo. Yeah. The logo was, obviously the podcast isn't usually on the logo, but everything about the mountains, and I figured the guys on the bench too. Like, I feel like that'd be perfect for us. I didn't want to center it because it's a far end of the bench, little tidbit there. But
there you go.
There's little things that I try to adjust with the logo, but I'm so happy with how everything looks now because, like I said, we can do so many things with this logo. Like we change our logo monthly based upon what's going on or whatever it may be, and it's so easy to do that.
Christmas right now.
And then
figure something out for January.
Yeah, we might do something for New Year's and all the way through January. So we might do something with that, but it's little things that make it so much easier, so much fun. Things that we can do with our logo, with the podcast. That we obviously record and we do all the things with it, but social media is such a big thing that we use to help our platforms out. And so that makes it so much more fun too.
Our Twitter has been. I mean, we're not as big on Instagram just because I don't think we know how to go get bigger on Twitter more than we do on Instagram because neither of us are going to be models on Instagram.
Yeah, we're not that good looking enough to post things on Instagram, but
we're funny.
We're funny enough to know how to get a good audience on Twitter.
Yeah, and I think that's been something. We're finally over 100 followers as we're recording this episode, and we're building slowly a following, and I think the network has helped out a lot with that because we do get pretty good numbers on the network, and more people are able to maybe hear us. It's funny. I'm looking at some of the analytics over the past couple of weeks. We have a pretty big following in Dallas, which is only hilarious because if you listen to any of our shows during the playoffs this year, the NHL playoffs, I basically called out the entire city of Dallas for the Stars. Maybe you love to hate me. Maybe you think I'm just a moron, and maybe I'm funny to listen to.
I told Jimmy I do have an uncle who lives in Dallas, but I did give him a hoodie. But either way, maybe people will start listening down there, or they just absolutely love listening to us hate on them. I guess, or
something like that. We do have a lot of people in Colorado. Obviously, all of our friends. We had original Benchwarmer guy who listened to my podcast when it was center of attention, Jeremy. And that bonus episode with the Masters was fun. That was great because there's levels to this game. We might know our shit when we talk football and basketball. We talk about MMA pretty well and hockey, but golf, we
are so far off on golf.
And you actually pay attention a little bit more, especially more than I do.
Yeah.
But Jeremy
blew us out of the water. Some of the things Jeremy was saying on there, I was just like,
made me a little bit nervous for how this bull pick'em is going to go because I got a reputation to uphold because I started this when I had my radio show in Gunnison, the bull pick'em that we're going to do. You guys will have heard it already, but that's going to be, I'm a little bit nervous because Jeremy knows.
Jeremy knows a lot. Jeremy is a die-hard college football fan. He loves it more than anything. Obviously, with everything with Ohio State's happening, so that who knows what all that's going to be happening because as we're recording this, who knows, but. He knows a lot about college football. Obviously, he has his teams, Indiana and Ohio State, but he knows a lot about every single game. He does a pick 'em himself every year about every single bowl game, and even the crappier ones. And I'm like, I don't even pay attention to the crappier ones.
No, I did. We started doing that a little bit more with the radio. I'll say my one thing that I do that's a little bit obsessive like that. I do fill out every single weight class for the NCAA wrestling tournament. The top side of the bracket and all of the wrestlebacks all the way through. So
that's fair.
I pick a 1st through 8th in every single weight class, and there's 10 of them in the NCAA wrestling tournament. So We gotta like.
That's fair. The one thing I'll say with that too is I do fill out at least 12 March Madness
How many
brackets.
do you put money on?
2 of them. I always make sure I get 2 main ones, but the rest are like upset brackets. Okay, I like this team, so let's see what their
Have you
path
done a coin flip bracket?
No, I sometimes do it like, oh man, I don't know. Sometimes I look at it like this school is better. Yeah. I like the school like colors better, or I like this, or the mascot's cooler, or if it's a toss-up game, I'll do that. But I always fill that out, and I fill out the NIT tournament too, because usually GCU's is right around there too. So
NCU and CSU recently, the NIT, not in tournament, but that's beside the point. We'll have plenty of that discussion coming up in March. It worked out well when we started the show, because I did try and do sports when I was doing Center of Attention, and that was actually when all the sports went away. Mm-hmm. I think I started Center of Attention sports the week before March Madness and the wrestling tournament, and all that had started. So now we came back and we started with bubble basketball, bubble hockey. NFL was getting ready to come back, and soccer was back. It was just kind of the perfect storm, because we were able to put together all of our segments for the show. We basically have had the same format for all of that. But the first few times that you heard us, we were pretty robotic. Yeah, we sounded like crap anyways on the bad microphone and the bad recorders, and then we also were just like, we were not ourselves.
So let's take us back to the first episode. The first episode, if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll notice we're on my couch, and we add little things in the background, like Santa or whatever. We'll add little things here and there, or the Zoom, or the recorder.
That's you want to sponsor?
There, that is. But the Christmas tree too, little things like that. But we were sitting at my dining table, and we had one mic.
Yeah.
One mic, and we would have to like almost move the mic around, and Jimmy would have to adjust where the mic picked up sound. To figure everything out, and it was a shit show. And
we also used to film the Center of Attentions on our cell phones.
Yeah, the Center of Attention on our cell phone was bad. And then I realized my dad had a GoPro at home, so I was like, okay, might as well just try this out and see how that works out. So then we moved it to the couch and makes it more a little eye appealing. I think, in my opinion.
I think so.
The episode with Chris is where everything I think started turning around.
Yeah.
Because with the episode with Chris,
that was the first time we had these.
Yeah, first time we had these mics. And the first time we realized, like okay, this is going to help us a lot. Mm-hmm. So we got to step our game up to the next level and make sure we start doing things better as we go on. And I think the more, because we're 18, as we're recording this, we're 18 full episodes in, but we're 20 with the bonus episodes. Mm-hmm. So we've been pushing a lot of episodes out, and I think we've only gotten better.
Yeah, well, one a week is a lot, and then the couple times where we've done bonus, like it does take a good amount of time, and when you're recording long stuff like this, it takes a lot for the technology and stuff, because I'll tell you, sometimes I get into a fight with YouTube when I'm trying to upload our stuff and everything like that, but each episode has gotten better. We're just a little bit more comfortable. I know the first few episodes you were getting used to talking into the mic and
it took me
yourself.
A while to figure it all out, because I was like, maybe I shouldn't say this, maybe I should just relax, or now I'm more loose, and now I can yell, I can scream, I get pissed off, I get happy, like it's everything in between. And I'm not worried about showing my true character like I usually do, so it's not a problem now. No,
and it's just been like we're getting better slowly. We have some pretty big things that are a possibility that would be huge for the show, and we're kind of spearheading almost all of the network collaborative shows. We kind of came up. It was a collaborative effort, but we were kind of the ringleaders to get everything organized for the NFL show. And NFL Unhinged has been doing great. Everybody on the network likes that. I can't wait for the NBA show.
Yeah, we're going to talk about a little bit later about a name, because by the time you guys hear this, we'll have an actual name. We'll actually have a show out too.
Yeah.
So if you haven't go back and check that out. But either way, we're still trying to figure all that out as we're recording this. But yeah, it's been so much fun, man. The network there's a lot of great guys on there. Like I said, we're the only Denver-based podcast. Everyone I talk to, when I asked them about the Unhinged Network, they're like, oh, like where in Colorado is everyone else? And I'm like, oh, we're the only Colorado people.
Yeah.
And they're like, what? There's like, yeah, there's people from Florida, there's people in Sacramento, there's people in that are from New York. Yeah. Like there's literally all across the country, and that's what makes it so good as a network.
We were the farthest west-based podcast for a while until the reserves, and then they're up in Sacramento. It's good. because we have our local teams that we like to talk about, but we do pay attention to everything, and we talk pretty much about everything. And the more that we do this, the more because we do, like, the discussions at the beginning, I don't know if you were a little bit nervous before the first one we did for the Halloween. I was kind of not sure how it was going to go, and it ended up being a great piece of content. And then I was noticing more people that weren't just sports fans were tuning into the podcast and maybe listening a little bit further through, because I have a friend from college who's not a sports fan at all, doesn't really watch or pay attention, but he listens to us, and he learns a little bit more than he did, and he's starting to gain a little bit more interest in the sport. So shout out Tim, because I'm sure you're listening. He's a loyal listener, but like it's cool. I guess I wanted to ask you, have you noticed, like, do people talk to you about the podcast when you're like talking to family and friends now?
Well, yeah. So like obviously the hoodies that we gave to family and friends, I gave out to a lot of friends, and the more I've seen it now is people are asking me more about how things are going, like what are the next steps, and I tell them all this great stuff, and they can't be more excited. I mean, this hoodie, it's super comfortable, and I have so many friends tell me, like, yeah, it's my favorite hoodie to wear, and I mean, that's as much as it's good to hear that on our end. That's better advertisement for us. I mean, if we have people wearing our stuff and they see that little logo, they'll click on our name. Yeah. They'll listen to something and see how it goes, and that's just exactly what we wanted. Right. And if you look at the growth we've had over the last month and a half, 2 months, it's been massive. With the YouTube stuff, with everything with the network, we have increased by over 100%. Like our listeners, average listeners per week.
Yeah, and we got to continue, like we know that we got a lot of work to do. We're by no means done with anything, and we're not satisfied with wherever we're at. We want, now I guess the goal while we're working with Unhinged is to try and get them as big as possible. The main goal with that would be something along the lines of Barstool, but we'll continue to elevate us as a podcast, us as a network, and then maybe at some point, hook up with a DNVR or some place that's bigger. Because the main thing right now is that no matter how big we are now, we just want to keep growing.
Exactly.
We don't want to get stuck.
Especially the network, too. The network has been fantastic.
There's a lot of good shows.
A lot of good shows on there. We all have the same common goal. We all want to make sure we are as successful as possible. It takes time, and luckily the growth we've had over only 3 months now, or I guess it'll be 4 when you guys listen to this, but over 4 months now has been incredible, and it's only going to continue to grow past that. Yeah,
well, we said we'd probably go about an hour. Since it's an episode in December, we got to have a discussion about something timely, and this is coming out right before New Year. So what better way to end the new year with the Far End of the Bench podcast than giving you our New Year's resolutions? Let's go. We'll do each of our personal ones, and then we'll each have 2 resolutions for the podcast for the next year.
I'll let you start.
Okay.
Because I was teetering on a few of them, so I'm interested to see what you said.
So my first New Year's resolution for me is just to continue. I've been working out since I got home from school, working out 5 days a week, or not 5 days, like at least 4 times a week, and staying in shape. It kind of keeps me sane, especially working from home. I think that's something that a lot of people can take advantage of. Just getting out and moving a little bit will brighten up your mood no matter how bored you are sitting in the same spot, working in the same place. So continue to work out at least 4 times a week, and continue to progress in that area. That's my first resolution.
Yeah, my first resolution, it kind of ties into the podcast, but it's more personal. But I would love to have a stable job, and I would love to be able to help myself out in the end, whether it be this or it be something else. By the end of 2021, hopefully, either we make enough money on this where I can do this fully, or I can I have something that I enjoy and that I strive on. Because the last thing I want to do is be doing something that I don't love to do, and this is something I love to do. And if this became a job, I would love it to be that. But right now, I'm still searching. I've been saying that for about 4 months, but hopefully something happens by the end of 21. So
I think it will. I mean, it's only a matter of time, and at some point, like, I know that if you do end up finding a job, we're still going to be doing the podcast because this is the ultimate goal. The main thing for both of us, I think, is to somehow monetize this and possibly make it a job. That's like, who wouldn't want to just sit around and talk about sports and make content? That's something that's great. So my next one,
these are the 2 podcast goals now.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do. We'll each give a podcast goal. I want to have at least 2 more big interviews that we can have like a giveaway on the same level of Bergman. I know that we have the possibility for some, but I think if we get at least 2 in the next year, who knows what happens after we do the first one. But if we can get at least 2, that would be a good marker of growth.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. That Chris episode helped us out a lot. I believe it has over 600, 700 listens ever since.
Between us and the network. Probably.
It's constantly one of the people's favorite episodes, and it's so much fun. I mean, if you listen to this and you haven't listened to it yet, go back and listen to it. Yeah. Because it was so much fun to do that. But I don't hate that at all. Like I said, we have a few things lined up. Hopefully, I would like more. I'll be honest with you, because I'm goal minded, and if it's not going to be one of my goals for the podcast, but I would love more. Yeah. Because in a 12-month calendar year, only having 2 would be, I think, a letdown in my opinion. I want a little bit more, if we're being honest, because that's just how greedy I am.
I'll happily take one. I'll happily take one.
But either way, that's not a bad one for me. It's pretty easy. I think by the end of 21, I want to make sure that this podcast is on a platform like a radio station. So whether that be on iHeartRadio or be on one of the bigger platforms, because I want the network to be able to get picked up by iHeart or Pod Stadium or whatever it may be, and I want that to further us down the road, because once you're picked up by a place like Fox was with Brendan Schaub and the Fighter and the Kid, or if you're a place like iHeart that has so many great podcasts and so many great networks on there, if the network and us as a pod are able to do that, I think that's going to take us to the next level. Yeah. Because right now we can only market ourselves to so many people, and that growth has been fantastic. But now we got to grow farther than that, and the best way to grow to people who don't necessarily listen to podcasts or necessarily listen to people from Denver is by having a bigger platform. And hopefully we keep growing by the end of the year, but I'd love to be a part of a bigger thing as well.
Yeah, the Podcast One, iHeartRadio, something like that. Westwood One I know has podcasts, so something like that would be huge. And I think, this is obviously going to be a slow process, especially since we're coming into this without any former following. But I think, a year's worth of really good content and continuing to get people on and continuing to get people to tell their friends, like the listeners telling their friends to check out a podcast or recommending it on social media or something like that. I think people undersell the importance, but that's huge. Like a like, a subscribe, a rate, a review, a share on social media goes so much farther than you could ever imagine. So
everyone that's been able to do that so far, man, we promise we don't go on unseen. We appreciate all the love and all the help we've been getting, because we can only do so much, but we have friends and family, and we have strangers helping us out. That makes life so much easier.
It's something crazy. I think this can be something that as a whole people can just be behind, and this could be an escape every single week, and who knows, if we continue to get bigger, maybe it's more than once a week. But exactly, everybody who's listened or shared or subscribed so far in 2020 with the Far End of the Bench, we thank you. If you're not yet following us or subscribed, go ahead, subscribe to the YouTube, on Apple Podcasts, all your podcasting platforms. Follow us on Spotify, follow us on social media at FEOTB Pod, and then use the link tree. Go get yourself some Fanatics stuff, any sport that you want to represent, anything that you can think of that has your sports team's logo on it, you can get it there, and continue to rock with us, man. It's going to be a fun 2021. We're looking forward to it.
2021 is going to be better than 2020.
There you go. It can't get much worse, but it's going to get a whole hell of a lot better. So with that, this has been Far End of the Bench. This will be episode 20. What do we want to call it?
I don't know.
What do we want to call this? Benchstravaganza?
Yeah, maybe we'll do bonus episode Benchstravaganza.
Yeah,
I don't know. We'll figure something out.
We'll figure something out. Thank you for listening to this episode. We'll see you guys in 2021.
Peace.